All right, so let's actually turn to the Constitution now. And first, just quickly look at the different parts to the Constitution and the main things that you find in each of the parts. And then talk about the elements in the constitutional system. So you'll find, for instance, grants of power throughout the Constitution, denials of power. All right, so let's just real quickly. You should have a copy out. I'm going to use this copy, which I found, which is on the Senate website. I like the way that it's organized visually for this purpose. And I'm just going to, skip through it real fast, and you can go back. Maybe you can go back to your copy and look at it. All right, here's the preamble. Article 1. There are 7 articles altogether. So here's Article 1. Now you can see here, what's Article 1 mostly about? My finger's in the right place. Article 1 is about the legislative branch. Okay? And you'll see Section 2 of Article 1 talks about the House, right? And what do you think Section 3 talks about? The Senate, of course, right? So setting up those 2 houses, the bicameral legislature. Section 4 is 4 and 5 both are kind of just housekeeping issues, right? How do they take care of business? When do they meet? Do they get paid? And things like that. Section 6 as well. And Section 7 is where the lawmaking process is described. Every bill, remember, I'm just a bill, I'm only a bill, spelled out right here, how to make a law. The lawmaking process. And Section 8, Congress shall have power to. You'll see a list of things here. Okay. And Section 9, Section 10, and here's Article 2. So 8 powers, 9 denials of power, and then we'll look at Section 10. So Article 2, what's Article 2? Well, look at that. There's the executive branch. And Article 2 is a lot shorter than Article 1. Not as much here. We'll come back through it in a minute. And Article 3, you can probably already anticipate what Article 3 is about. Of course, the judicial power, right? Judicial branch spelled out here. It's the shortest of those 3 articles. Article 4 is kind of a catch-all article. Full faith and credit clause is found there. This was the fugitive slave, something in there for dealing with fugitive slaves. Things that are, in this version, things that are italicized were taken out later. Okay, so Article 4. And Article 5 is about the amendment process, right? Article 6, the most important thing in Article 6, this deals with Revolutionary War debt, so it's not relevant now. The most important thing in Article 6 is this clause right here that we call the Supremacy Clause. Supremacy Clause. And the Constitution and the laws made in pursuance of the Constitution are the supreme law of the land, and judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Now, this Supremacy Clause does not mean that every federal law is supreme to every state law. It does not mean that. If it meant that, we wouldn't have a dispute over differing state and federal laws on marijuana. it does mean that the Constitution is supreme over all state laws. What it means is that when Congress is doing something that it's fully within their power to do, the states cannot either interfere or do that exact same thing, in contrast to the federal government. But the states can do lots of things, of other things, and so that's where the conflicts come in. But we'll talk about that a lot more when we talk about federalism. All right, Article 7 is about ratification, so we don't talk about that very much anymore. Let's look at here the amendments, and of course the amendments are a part of the Constitution, and so we'll talk about some of them in just a moment. All right, so the elements in the constitutional system. So it's stepping back out away from the Constitution for a second, and looking back at it, you see that it sets up a system, and that's what we're going to talk about now. And it's a system that grants power to some entities, and it denies certain other kinds of powers. It sets up a system of checks and balances through the separation of power among the three branches. It also sets up a vertical separation of power, or a vertical distribution of power, I should say, between the states and the federal government. Provides for elections. Judicial review is a part of the constitutional system, I'll come back to. Civil liberties and equality. All right, so what I want to do now is go through each one of those in turn and see examples of them in the Constitution. We're going to go back and forth a little bit.